When I originally started this project, I thought I was going to be making a short film about Jonathan Green and the artwork and set design that he did for the 2016 production that took place for Spoleto Festival USA that year. And so I was excited to work with Jonathan Green, and I started reading the actual book, Porgy. And I went to this one last book that I was reading called The Strange Career of Porgy and Bess. And I went to the epilogue, this like thick book, and I went down to like here, the last pages. And in the first 8 sentences of the epilogue, I learned about the 1970 production of Porgy and Bess in Charleston, that it had played all over the world, but it didn't play in this very city that it was about because no one would agree to perform it before an integrated audience. I've seen movies and I've heard stories from my parents about what it was like to integrate the schools, for example. I've seen, the classic civil rights footage of protests, but what floored me was just how tense things were in Charleston leading up to 1970, because you had the hospital worker strike, you had the garbage worker strike. It was such a big deal at the time that the 60 Minutes, the LA Times, the New Yorker, all the major national press and some international press had covered this event, and that they were nationally credited with a moment of racial healing, that they received Broadway caliber critical acclaim. And I sat there in my living room and I was floored just reading these first 8 sentences, because I thought, wait a second, I remember sitting on some of these people's knees as a child. And if I didn't know about this, then I know that my friends didn't know about it, that I knew that Greater Charleston didn't know as much as they should about it, and people who could have really benefited from learning about the hard work that our elders put in just to perform art before an integrated audience. I knew that not enough people knew about it. And it's been over 80 years, and not one person has bothered to ask the people from the culture, hey, what do you think? Again, hey, what does this mean? So there was a lot of nervousness that, that I am doing this story, that I have the power to do this story, and I have a power to do it in a way that the voices are uncensored.
Ella Gerber found out about the Corliss Music Club and chose us to be the choral corps of Porgy and Bess.
So it was a coming together of us who really sang and knew music and could read music.
Porgy and Bess production involved a whole lot of singing, and being a part that we loved to sing, we fit right in.
Here's a group from Charleston. They didn't have to import folks into the Low Country. The talent was already here.
Since it was local, all of us were determined to make this a great thing, and we wanted to make Charleston proud of us.
It was like a movie, except it was real. And when they started to sing, I was like, I know that song. And the crowd loved it. And at the end, the ovation just went on and on.
There was a great authenticity to this production that I have never seen elsewhere.
It just melted Ella Gerber's heart. She directed that Porgy and Bess many times, and for the first time, she saw it real.
We say in music, don't be sharp, don't be flat, be natural. And that's what I tried to do.
Summertime rings in my head. The reason they were able to give such a great production of Porgy and Bess is because of their experiences. They had lived much of what Porgy and Bess existence was all about. That's why I think they were the best.
I think for people who lived through the 60s, I think that sometimes they need somebody who's younger than them to say, hey, what you did was a really big deal, and what you went through was a really big deal. A lot happened in that decade. And that's when I knew, oh, I'm working on something bigger than myself. I'm working on something really complex, and I need to take my time and do it right.